Hi, this is Mrs. Guthrie again with Computer Science Discoveries Unit 2, and today we're going to talk about Lesson 7, which is a mini project that where you are going to be creating a web page that will also include CSS to give your web page some style. All right, well, we're going to start off in Bubble 1, and in Bubble 1 you have 5 activities that you will be completing, and they're very short. If you read the instructions, you will see that each one of these should take about a minute or two, not very long, depending on your typing speed and stuff. The very first one is simply adding a rule set for the heading. And the heading, if they don't specify it, there are a couple of different heading sizes. One is elephants, one is H, which is H1, and then H3, which is the subheading there. You add a rule set on the style sheet. So we're going to click on the style sheet, and you can see that there's already a rule set for the body. By the way, if we wanted to change the background of the body, we can do so. But we're going to add a rule set for the heading. Our heading element is H1 for the elephants. We're going to type in that element without the tags around it like it has in HTML, and instead we're going to be using curly brackets just like this. So we're just adding a rule set. Maybe we just want to change the font size and make it bigger. I think that made it bigger. I'll make it, there we go, 50 pixels tall. And now that is the height of that. We can also change things like color. And so forth. Make sure after your rule set that you type in your semicolon. There's already a link tag in here, which is why the style sheet is connected. Should not change any of the content on the page. All right, we're going to click Finish and go to B. So B is changing the text color. We're going to look at a web page about pizza and change the text color of the heading and the paragraphs. There is 2 different headings on this page. One is H1 and another is H3. You can change both of them or one of them. I'm going to change, we're wanting to make it a different color. And I really like fire brick. I like to have that little bit of white space there. And then we're going to add also a different color for our paragraphs. And I'll use saddle brown. Now it didn't pop up in some cases. If you don't see it changed, try hitting refresh and save. And now you can see my colors have popped up. If I wanted to change the other deep dish pizza and matzo pizza, I would add in, that was H3. So I'm going to leave it the way it is now for the sake of time, but feel free to explore that if you have time. Now we're going to look at C. This is an important one to know how to align your text. And so alignment is the text centered on the page? Is it all the way to the right or to the left? And So it tells us align text. We want the names of the authors to align to the right side of the page. If you're not sure how to align text, there's all kinds of different things you can do, look at under style sheets and so forth. But I'm going to help you with that. If you're here, you might be stuck on this one. So first, figure out which tag holds the author's names. Helen Keller being the first one. And then add a rule set for that tag to move it to the right side of the screen. So here's a preview of what it should look like. And here's what it looks like down here right now. So when I look at Helen Keller, I can see that that's H3 and Grace Hopper H3. So we're going to look at our H3 heading. And if I'm not sure what to look for, I can look for a line. I can type in a line and look at the options. Well, since this is text that we're wanting to align, I'm going to do text align. And you can see some different options here. We're told to put them on the right. I could center it. Justify has to do with making everything go from left to right. And then this is right. Don't forget to put your semicolon at the end for proper syntax. And then click Finish. We've got it. Next is changing the font family. While this is loading, I will tell you that not every device has every font, but every device is preloaded with the font families and certain fonts that are going to match certain font families. So you can see there's several font families, including cursive, but cursive on my computer may look a little different than on my phone or even on like the iPad. So Fantasy, Serif, and Monospace, these are all different kinds of font families. We want to add a rule set for the heading, one of the heading types, and for the paragraphs. Okay, so I am going to add one for my title for endangered animals, and we're going to make it font family. I think I'll put in a fancy font like cursive. Let's just see what that looks like. See? We can also try fantasy. That looks a little different. On your device, it may even look different than what you're seeing on my screen right now, because these are font families, not a specific font. If we were putting in a specific font and that font wasn't available on the other person's device, oh, I'm so sorry, there would be errors. I hope I'm not making you yawn. It's getting kind of late. So we did that for the heading. Now we need to do one for the paragraphs. Notice how I'm lining everything up. When you have a lot of text, like in a paragraph, it's important to keep it really easy to read. So be mindful maybe not to use your fancy fonts on the paragraphs and to keep it simple. All right, that's all we have to do on that particular bubble. And we have one more, and that is changing the font size. You can specify the font size in terms of pixels, px. You need to include the units there. we're going to add a rule set for the heading and a rule set for the paragraphs. So this is our pizza one again, except for they've reset. The colors are not there anymore. I'm going to make it really big, just for fun, just so we can see it when we refresh it. Nice and big. And I think I will make the paragraphs kind of small. And you can see how this changed that page. Now, that is not necessarily ideal. If this was your web page, you may not want your font to be that tiny. But I like to be able to see my changes happen, make sure I'm doing it correctly. So for a practice level, that's just fine. We made them another size, another font size. This takes us to Bubble 2. And I'm not going to complete Bubble 2 at this time. It is a challenge level. And you can get even more colors using RGB codes. RGB meaning red, green, blue. And all the colors basically are some combination of that mix. Alrighty. For Bubble 3, this is where your website creation comes in. And you're going to add first HTML to make the page you have sort of planned out come to life. So hopefully you've thought about what it is that you want to make your project about. I have talked with your grade level teachers, and on this assignment you are encouraged to choose one of the topics that I have provided. And if you've already started one before this assignment was made, like you had been working ahead, and your project is about something else, you do not necessarily have to restart it. But I noticed that in the last web page that we created, there were a lot of people that didn't have a lot of content. So I want you guys to be able to include some content and include some headings and subheadings. So I've already got some content on my clipboard that I pasted before I started this web page that I wrote. And to save time, I'm going to paste it in. So this is the content that I wrote right before I started this video. And this is my web page on weather versus climate. And now I'm going to go back in. This is how I would do this up, is I would do everything in your workspace without the HTML tags. And then you're going to come back in and we're going to add them. So we've got our heading tags. Remember, almost all tags have to have a closing. Some are self-closing, like the link tag up here is a self-closing tag. It doesn't require an additional tag for closing it. And we'll make this a paragraph. And then this is you can see how I have it separated here. This is going to be a subheading. I'm going to just quickly add in the rest of these tags here. I would encourage you to use other tags that you know as well, like your horizontal rules, list, and so forth. And I'm going to purposefully go back up here and mess up this code just a little bit. Right now you see everything looks great. If I forgot to put my close tag in here, way up here, I'm in line 8 where I messed it up. Notice that it's pink down here. Just because the pink text is down at the bottom doesn't mean that the error is down there. It means it's somewhere above it. So look very carefully to see if there's anything that you might have made a mistake on, if you see any pink anywhere. And double check your work. Notice that every new element starts on a new line, and I've used white space to separate those elements as well to make it easier to read. Once you've got your HTML done, you're going to click Finish. That will take you to Bubble 4. Then in Bubble 4, you're going to add in your CSS, your style sheet, to give your page some style. You want to include style for every element on your page, including your 2 or more different headings. You should have at least a title and some subheadings like you see here on mine. You should have paragraphs. Use a paragraph element as well. So in the style sheet, I want you to include your body tag so that you can put in a background. Okay, I'll use a very light blue, and which is azure there. I have a heading 1 element. I want to include color for these. That color is probably a little too close, so I'll just use blue. Try regular blue. You should also make sure that somewhere in your CSS that you have changed the font size. It should be something that looks good on your page. So if that's too big, make it smaller. You should change the color, the font size, the font family, and pick one of these. Let's try. If you don't see any changes, click refresh and save, and you can see that this font right here changed. It's now different than the rest. So font size, font family, color, background, and let me check my work over here. The rubric that is in here. Let's try to refreshing that page. There we go. So you want to use multiple heading tags and paragraph tags. You should have at least 2 subheadings. You should have a rule set for the body tag, each heading tag, and the paragraph tag, color, font family, font size, the text alignment, and the background. Make sure that you've included changes in all of those. It doesn't necessarily have to be done under each one. Let's say for our heading, we might want to do a text align there and make it maybe centered. All right. So font family, font size, color, and making sure you have each of the elements done. And if you do that, you will have full credit. Let's see. full credit on this assignment. Make sure you've got all your semicolons at the end. You've got all your curly brackets. You've used a white space, no errors, no pink text. And when you have all of the CSS in, you can click Finish. It will take you to Bubble 5, where it is going to prompt you to review the page and look over it for errors, look over the content, look over the HTML tags, look over the CSS properties, make sure everything is organized, that your workspace has everything in line. You used white space to make everything look neat, and free of bugs, no tech, no pink. If everything looks good and it's like you want it, then you can come up and click the share button. You copy and paste this link, and we'll go to student view here for just a moment. When you come into lesson 7 on Canvas and you click start assignment, you're going to see website URL. You're going to paste that you just copied and submit it. You can see very clearly how it is that I'm going to be grading you on the rubric. You're going to make sure that you use multiple heading elements, paragraph elements, multiple rule sets for each of the HTML elements, multiple property value combinations that will include background on the body tag, color, font size, font family, and text align, at least one time each for those. And then clean code, organized workspace, tags are nested vertically. And then if you go above and beyond, you do have the opportunity to earn some extra credit points, which is good in case you make some small errors up here that cause deductions. All right. If everything is good, you are done. Have a wonderful evening, and we are going to stop with that.